Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Well, today I have something special for you. We finished up Psalm 143 yesterday. Today I want to talk to you about our birthday. This is a tradition that I try to keep every year, and that is to just review the history of Daily Dose Radio, and just it reminds me, and I try to keep it before you guys once a year, just talking about how this came to be. I suppose this really is more for me than for anybody. So I just want to tell you about it. Today, the 21st of March, we are celebrating, I am celebrating the 12th year of podcasting. So 12 years. We started this in March of 2013. Was our first broadcast. Actually, the first podcast went out on the 21st of March. So just back up from that a little bit, back into November, December of 2012, I began feeling like the Lord was leading me into some sort of a broadcast ministry. And I had done some radio in the past, long time ago. And me and a buddy, we would go to a little bitty country and western station that had a tiny footprint in southern Indiana. And we would go in there on Saturday mornings and we'd do a half-hour broadcast. It was a Bible program. And he and I would go back and forth. And anyway, so I had some history with it. I began feeling like it's time to go back and do some more of that. Of course, I wanted something that would go hand in hand with my pastoral ministry. And I wanted something that was going to be ongoing, something that every day that we could study the Bible verse by verse. So I went to a local radio station. Something came in the mail as I was feeling like, it's time to go back. I got a letter from a local Christian radio station, and they said, why don't you come in here and we'll show you around. So I called the man up. I said, hey, I got your letter. I'd love to come and look around. I'm thinking about doing some sort of a, program show. So I went down. They gave me the grand tour of the station, all the things, met some of the personalities behind the microphones there in the station. And he got done with the tour, and he brought me into his office and he gave me the rate sheet. And I thought I was going to swallow my tongue. It was so expensive to do radio, and I'm a poor man, and my church is a poor church. And so didn't have a whole lot of money. It certainly didn't have that kind of money. So I said, thank you very much, smiled, and walked out. Later that week, I was talking to one of the elders of my church, and I said, I had gone there, and I was kind of complaining about the pricing and, the conflict I had now because I really felt like I needed to do something with this. And he said to me, have you ever considered podcasting? So I said, I don't even know what that is. And of course, in 2012, podcasting was pretty new to the smartphone platform. It had been a thing with iPods way back in the day. iPods were big and podcasting was pretty much just for iPods, but in 2012, podcasting has made its way onto the smartphone platform, which meant that it was accessible to a lot more people. So I began to research that and made my way to Spreaker, serendipitously and providentially, we'll say, because Spreaker was very aggressive with trying to get their podcasters, their creators, published on lots of other platforms. And so they were always making deals with other platforms to accept their podcasters. So signed up with Spreaker, started working with them, bought the necessary equipment, the microphone and, all the things that I would need to do a podcast, which is not really a lot. I mean, when you're just doing a podcast, you need a good quality microphone, but that's almost it. If you have a nice laptop or a desktop computer that you can record on, and you have a microphone that'll connect to that, you're halfway home, actually more than halfway home. So I got all the stuff I needed. I knew what I wanted to do. The Lord had laid on my heart that He wanted me to do a podcast in the Psalms. So Daily Dose was born, and I began March the 21st, but the day before, on March the 20th, I recorded an episode that I just sent out to some friends. And I said, listen to this and tell me what you think. I think maybe one of them got back to me. The rest of them kind of ignored it. And I thought to myself, it doesn't depend on them and whether they like it or not. I feel like this is what the Lord wants me to do, and I'm going to do it according to the way I feel like it should be done. I'm going to do it in a way that I enjoy. I'm going to do it in a way that's easy for me because of all my other responsibilities. And so I began podcasting on the 21st. It went up on Spreaker, and of course Spreaker was putting it out all over the place, or trying to. They were making deals with others. And that continued all that summer until the fall. And in the fall of that year, Spreaker came to all the podcasters on their platform. They said, hey, we're trying to cut a deal with iHeartRadio, and they are willing to accept you as a podcaster. All you have to do is apply. Well, I thought that'd be great. I'd heard a little bit about iHeart, but I knew it was a big network, so I applied, and they rejected me. And I applied again, and they rejected me again. And the third time I applied, I think I got everything just like they wanted it because they kept telling me what I needed to do differently. And it was not content related, it was just format related. And so finally got it right, and they accepted Daily Dose. And by that time, I had changed the name to Daily Dose Radio. So they accepted Daily Dose Radio, and then we were off. And the amount of view or listens, because at that time it was just audio, the amount of subscribers and people listening to the podcast just jumped. It was exciting to see all the folks come in. And I began to think to myself that winter, I was thinking, I need to advertise Daily Dose Radio because I'd heard other people doing that and how successful it was. And so I bought some advertising. I didn't have a lot of money, so it was a little bit of advertising. But as soon as I did, the Spirit of the Lord spoke to my heart, and He said, "Don't do that. You let me do the advertising for you. Let me be your marketeer, and I'll take care of all the rest." And so I stopped advertising Daily Dose Radio, and I've allowed the Lord to be the one to grow it ever since then. I don't look out for places to advertise at all. Now I do try to look for new platforms where the video podcast can be seen. That's another part of the story too. And it just happened recently in the last 10 to 8 months. Spreaker stopped uploading to YouTube. Now I don't know if it was YouTube that stopped accepting the audio, or if it was Spreaker that stopped sending it. But all of a sudden, I couldn't send any of my audio recordings to YouTube. So we had to transition to this video format. And luckily, I had a good quality. It's not the highest quality, but it's a decent quality video camera that I can use. And of course, I still had my nice microphone. And I just thought, well, one of my rules, my golden rules, is that it's going to be easy. This is going to be my thing, and I'm going to do it so that I'm able to do it. And I thought, well, we'll just record in my office. This is my home office. So we started recording, and that's done well. So that's the story of Daily Dose Radio, now 12 years in. And I think and there have been lots of other little changes along the way, things that have happened. And one of the things that was wonderful was the smartphone app that Spreaker produced, and they gave it to their podcasters and said, just pay us a small fee, a yearly fee, and you can you have a space on our app where people could find your podcast. And so that was wonderful. And we had sort of our own little app for Daily Dose Radio through Spreaker. You just had to have the Spreaker app. Now they've stopped doing that, but the YouTube channel has grown so much that don't really have to have the app it's not quite as important as it once was, because the podcast now is everywhere. There is no way I could be able to list all of the places where Daily Dose Radio goes, all the platforms, Castbox and Podbean and Stitcher and places that you wouldn't even recognize. Some of them global, some of them local. It's just amazing how podcasting has just become, it's everyone's doing it. Everyone has a podcast now because it's a great way just to get your message out. And of course, my message is very niche. I'm teaching the Bible, but I'm only teaching one book of the Bible. I'm teaching through the Psalms, verse by verse, 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. I don't teach on the weekends at all. So it's just Monday through Friday. And of course, that's, again, part of the golden rule. I don't have 7 days a week to do this thing. I have 5. And I was just going to make it 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse, 5 minutes a day. Now, the 5 minutes a day thing, I break that a lot, because sometimes I'll go 5 minutes and 30 seconds, sometimes 6 minutes. And as I look at my clock over here, I've already hit 12 minutes. So so I don't always hit the 5. And sometimes I might be a little bit short on my 5 minutes. So, but that's okay. I teach as long as I can teach and try to stay within that time frame. I have a stopwatch that runs and tells me how long I've gone, so I can kind of keep to my 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, moniker. We've been through together. If you followed Daily Dose Radio at all, we've been through the book of the Psalms. Well, we're coming up on our third time. We'll have completed 3 studies through the Psalms. And today, yesterday we finished Psalm 143. And so we've just got 7 more Psalms to go. So pretty soon we're going to start the 4th volume. And we'll just keep going, because studying the Psalms is so important. The Psalter is so important to Christian spiritual life. It just is. And unfortunately, it is neglected. The Psalms are neglected. We don't sing them anymore like the church used to. And when the church used to sing them, we were more familiar with them because we had them in our minds. The songs were in our minds. But we don't sing them anymore, and it's very rare that you'll hear a sermon from the Psalms or a reading from the Psalms. So I think it's important for me to put that out there to let everybody know about the Psalms and the wonderful treasure that is there in the book of the Psalter. So I hope you'll join me as we finish this third go through, and then you'll join me as we begin the 4th time. We'll go all the way back to Psalm 1, verse 1, and start it all over again. So that's our birthday remembrance, and I really appreciate all the folks who have followed Daily Dose Radio for so many years. And, I'm looking forward to more years and more volumes. This is the 3rd. We're getting ready to start the 4th. And I hope that you'll jump on board as we go through the Psalm verse by verse every day, Monday through Friday. Except for the few weeks there around Christmas when I take a break. But 12 years old is Daily Dose Radio. Thank you for being a part. I'll see you next time here on Daily Dose Radio.